You are listening to the FORSCOM Frontline, bringing you to our soldiers on the front lines of readiness. Hey everyone, welcome to the FORSCOM Frontline. I'm Ashley and I'm your host. As we mentioned in our last episode, June is the month of the Army's birthday, and this year is 248. And just a few months ago, the Army launched a new logo and brought back the Be All You Can Be slogan. One of the key themes of that new campaign is possibilities, the possibilities that are available to you through the Army. And to help us highlight this, we asked First Lieutenant Amber English to join us today. Amber is an Olympic gold medalist, and she participated in the 2020 Olympic Games in Tokyo and took the gold in the women's skeet. If anyone knows about the possibilities the Army can open, it's her. So welcome, Amber. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
So I have to tell you, you're the first Olympian I've ever talked to, so that's exciting.
Oh, nice.
And definitely the first gold medalist. So I've checked off a few things off of my list today. So, before we really get into all of that, can you just tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, how long you've been in the Army and where you're from originally, that sort of stuff?
Yep. Like you said, I am First Lieutenant Amber English. I am currently in the Army Reserve. I grew up in Colorado Springs, Colorado. We were a super outdoorsy family, so every weekend was skiing and fishing and hunting and everything outside. I learned to shoot from a very young age, but definitely not competitive. I grew up doing gymnastics and then decided right at the end of high school, my body was not going to allow that anymore. So that's how I got into shooting. I come from a long line of competitive shooters. My mom and dad shot, and aunt and uncles, cousins. Yeah, they shot, different variations of rifle disciplines. So I was kind of the only black sheep to get out there and shoot shotgun. But, it just started with a passion. And once my body healed a little bit from gymnastics, I decided I wanted to compete in something. And so that's when I started to shoot after that. And it really just became something that I was excited about and interested in, and then just progressed from there.
Okay. I have literally so many questions for you. So did I read, and correct me if I'm wrong, but your dad has a tie to the Olympics, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he worked for the Olympic Committee years ago. And so it was kind of interesting to come up through that process. I grew up around the Olympic movement. So it was kind of exciting to go and get to talk to other athletes and just see how that process worked for kind of everybody.
And then to come full circle. And
yeah,
I mean, I feel like for me, the Olympics was never something that was like in my family or I would have ever dreamed of. But I mean, it's kind of a little bit different for you. You had that around you, but did you ever think that was something that you would do?
At first when my dad worked for the Olympic Committee back then, I was still doing gymnastics. So it was kind of like, I'll maybe do it in college or something like that. But it was really, after that and just seeing, there's just the Olympic movement, and Colorado Springs is, considered Olympic City of the U.S. So there's a lot of cool things going on in Colorado Springs, and they really try to help all the athletes in the town.
Right. So we already talked about this. You've always done shooting, but hasn't really been like your passion up until not too long ago, I guess. So how long really have you been doing it competitively?
Yeah, so I started at the very end of high school. I started pretty late compared to everybody else. A lot of kids start, just like swimming or gymnastics or anything like that from a young age. But yeah, I started at the very end of high school. I'm 33 now, so I'll let y'all do the math.
You're still younger than me.
Yeah. I've taken a few years off here and there. I took 2012 off at the very end of that to finish college. And then I worked as a paramedic for quite a while in Colorado Springs and Woodland Park and Denver a little bit. And then I also took 2017 off is when I joined the Army. So I had to do, basic training and officer candidate school in Fort Benning, and then back to the basic officer leadership course in Virginia after that. So it was about a full year of Army training before I could get back on the gun.
Okay. And so you mentioned you're in the reserves. Mm-hmm. So are you, explain how this all works to me. Are you active duty right now because you're part of the world-class soldier explain it all.
Yeah. There's a lot, that's the cool thing about all of this is there's so many different ways to obtain your goals through the Army, and a lot of people just don't know about it. I joined through the reserves. It kind of gave me the best option to control my schedule and kind of have an outline before I went through training, so that way I could figure out what the best time frame was for me to get back on the gun and obtain the goals. So I went through the reserves. I went through normal training, which would pretty much put you on active duty like everybody else. And then I went on orders, which is in the reserves called Title 10 orders. And so that puts you on active duty orders where you're treated just like normal active duty soldiers. You're one of them. Okay. And then you're supposed to stay on that for 1,095 days, and then you have to come off of it for a year. So it's different. There's so many different ways around it. That's the cool thing about the reserves is that it offers a lot of flexibility. And if you want to pursue, a civilian career as well as a military career, you can do that.
So what prompted you to join the reserves?
Yeah, so I was already training and competing with a lot of the guys who were actively in the military, and I just fought it for so long. I said, I'm not going, I'm not doing it now. I've already got a career, I already went to school, I'm too old to go. And so it was just kind of, I noticed that I was bored in Colorado and needed a big change of pace, and the Army definitely offered a sense of adventure, that's for sure, and just new things. I met a lot of great people through that process. So I applied for the World Class Athlete Program, just out of Fort Carson. And that unit specifically houses all different types of national team members, from swimming to boxing, shooting, all different types of sports. Yeah. And their main mission is just to represent the U.S. in domestic and international competitions in hopes of making the Olympic team and winning a medal. So I was very fortunate to have their support to go through the whole process, and I was very excited to represent them the whole time.
Yeah, it's a great program. But did you ever think that your path to the Olympics would be through the Army?
No. No, not at all. But you know what? It was kind of taking a step in a different direction, and knowing that, hey, the Army is there. A lot of other people have done it before me, and a lot of going to continue to do it after me. So, if they can do it, I can do it. And just finding the best route to obtain my goals. And the World Class Athlete Program definitely provided me a bunch of resources that I didn't necessarily have before. And just the stability of having a really great support system helped a lot.
Can you talk a little bit more about the World Class Athlete Program and, some of the benefits to it and what you get out of it and how it works, really?
Yeah, so it's your main focus on a daily basis is to wake up and train, and if that's working with other national team coaches or whatever your program kind of dictates is what you're going to do. And then you also have soldier responsibilities on top of that. So you do have to stay with all the training and everything else that all the other soldiers are doing across the Army. So you're just a soldier athlete, and a lot of it, what I liked about WCAP is that it offered a little bit of flexibility, and they knew that, I've been there for a long time and around the sport, it kind of allowed me to have a little freedom and play with what I needed to do to perform my best. So They were extremely supportive, and I couldn't have asked for a better team to be around preparing for the Olympics.
So are you no longer part of that program?
I'm not, but surprise, I actually applied again. So I'm just waiting for my paperwork to go through, and I'm really, really excited to be back with them again.
Okay. And so what are you doing right now? In between everything else?
Yeah, so I honestly thought that I was going to be done shooting after 2020 or 2021. I thought I had enough fun, and I didn't. I took a little bit of time off. My background's in healthcare, so flight medic school. I'm still studying for that, and I got into med device sales for a little while. where I was doing kind of orthopedic sales at some hospitals here in Georgia. And then I realized, man, I feel like I can give it one more go to 2024. And so it's been strange. It's been a really weird process. I've obviously never been through this before. And so I'm just trying to figure out how to prepare the best way I can. And I realized, there's one main thing that keeps me going is there's never a woman to win back-to-back gold. So we'll see what happens.
So 2024 is on the horizon then, hopefully.
Yeah, we'll see. One of the things with women's skeet, so in shotgun we have rifle, pistol, and shotgun, and then in shotgun specifically you have skeet and trap. The women's skeet team in the whole world to make. We are extremely competitive, and that is what makes us super good, is just because of the depth that we have with that team. So that, I take the top two. Even making that team is a blessing all on its own.
Yeah. And did I read somewhere that you were teaching marksmanship at Benning? Did I make that up?
No, so attached to here in Fort Benning, Georgia, there for a little while. And part of their mission too is being a shooter instructor. So they have a bunch of different sections that go out and kind of teach the rest of the force.
Okay.
Kind of lethality with weapons and basic marksmanship, and so that they can be the best that they can be for their unit.
Okay. Where did my question go? So you went to 2020 Olympics in Tokyo. That was like peak pandemic.
Yeah, it was insane. That was insane.
In your first time what was that like?
Well, 0 out of 10 stars for training during that. I don't ever want to train through something like that again. But it was good to have the Army there and support us, and knowing that the stress was pretty high with not knowing what was going to happen. And, there's a bunch of other Olympians and the shooting team and stuff that we had kind of reached out to, and coaches. It was all very uncharted territory for everybody because no one had really been through a pandemic like that right before the games. So, between the people protesting, wanting to have the games canceled, it was just a really weird, horrible roller coaster ride. But
yeah,
I was glad, I was able to wake up every day and find self-motivation to keep going, and it paid off. So
I feel like you need 2024 so that you can experience like a real Olympics, right?
Yeah, that was just crazy. Super crazy.
Was 2020 the one where there were all the pictures of the beds that were like made out of cardboard?
Yeah.
How were they?
That wasn't the problem. The cardboard bed felt like normal frame, really, but the mattress, for lack of better words, it kind of looked like little squares, and to me it looked like, when you swirl like a hot glue gun around and how that glue kind of forms, like that's what those little squares looked like. And you could turn them over depending on how hard you wanted it, and it was like, you either wanted it as hard as a rock or hard as a wood floor. It was all the same.
Oh, well, that sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
What was it like being part of Team USA? I mean, to go through that experience and meet the other athletes.
Everybody was super hyped to be there and just excited that we all had the opportunity to compete. Although it was very strange and different, the hype is real for sure. Everybody was very excited, and you walk around the Olympic Village and everybody's wearing their country's colors, and it's super patriotic, and everybody's just extremely happy to be there.
Had you ever been to an Olympic Games before?
I actually went with some friends to 2008 to go watch when we were younger. That was definitely an experience. So I had seen what it looked like, and but obviously not from the lens I just went through. So.
Sure. So what are your plans for your Army career? Other than competing, what are some things you hope to achieve?
I'd like to go to some other schools eventually. Right now, it's kind of a one-track path to making this next Olympic team. And then we'll see from there. A bunch of doors open and close all the time. And so it's just kind of the right timing and the right support. We'll see. I mean, I am excited to keep it going and go from there.
You said something that just popped up another question. What is your training like? Like, how much time are you spending training for hopefully the Olympics?
Yeah, so we actually just shot part 1 of Olympic trials, which was ridiculously early in the process. Normally we don't shoot part 1 until late fall. But we shot part 1, and so my goal was just to be in the top 6 and kind of in the hunt for the next one. So they'll add part 1 and part 2 together, and then the top 2 make the Olympic team. So I was in the same position I kind of was in last time. I think it's a little easier to come from behind sometimes and stay on top for that long. So
yeah,
I did what I needed to do there. And then, training, it's very cyclic depending on what matches we're getting ready for and what we're going to do. So I have a little bit of downtime right now. I actually sent my gun off, so it's getting worked on for the next 3 weeks. So I'm taking advantage of
I was going to say, does that mean three weeks off?
What do I do with myself? Yeah. So I was working and stuff. But yeah, it's lots of new things happening, and I don't really feel like I have to defend anything going to the next Olympic trials. I just have to try to enjoy the process and do the best that I can and give it 100%. We'll see what happens.
That's a great attitude, though, too. I think it would be very easy to be like, I won it once, I'm going back, and I'm going to do it again. How do you?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously definitely a competitive side to all of us.
Oh, sure.
I've just realized over time that being in the most positive headspace possible will, give me the best results. So I'm just trying to have fun and actually enjoy it this time.
So I'm not going to lie. I may have Instagram stalked you before this. And so I saw that you have dogs. So are they with you in Georgia? Are they everywhere you go as much as possible?
Yeah, I don't travel with them because they're like 200 pounds of fur, and I already have enough stuff. I've got a big lab and then a pretty small Bernese Mountain Dog, but she's pretty big too. And yeah, when we're home, we all do a bunch of stuff, and then I was on the road a lot, so I have good people to watch them and hang out, and they have fun.
I know that was really random, but I'm really into my dog. I'm into my dog, so.
Yeah. Actually, 2021, my New Year's resolution was to pet every dog that I saw, like with permission. So
that's awesome.
I already checked that off the list.
Nice. Yeah. So, you talked a lot about taking advantage of schools with the Army. And I think that's something, you started out as a paramedic and you talked about flight medicine and some of these other things. I think that's one thing that I think people often forget is that, what you're doing in the Army and what you can take from the Army can transition out of the Army. So can you talk a little bit about what your experience has been like with that?
Yeah, well, I think honestly, just being a veteran sets you apart on a resume initially anyway, for some people. In the schools, I would never go to college to learn the things that I'm learning in the Army. And so that's a good part of it. It's free. Yeah, it's all part of our time that we owe and stuff like that. But I think it is important, and you can learn a lot just from taking other schools and meeting new people. Yeah. And it opens a lot of doors that you wouldn't have just as a civilian without that training.
Absolutely. And so what's your plan? Do you hope to stay in the Army for a little while or reserve and take advantage of it? Or what are you hoping to do?
That is a good question. I don't know the answer to that yet.
That's okay.
I feel like I change my mind every other month. So
it's not like you don't have anything going on.
They say you can only eat an elephant one bite at a time. So I'm trying to take little bites and go from there.
Okay.
But my goal is to get through 2024 with the world-class athlete program and then make decisions after that.
Okay.
There's so many different opportunities with the Army and how things are changing. So we'll see.
Yeah.
It's definitely not impossible for me to do 20 years, but we'll see.
All right. And so I'm this is random, sorry. You were a paramedic before the reserve, and I guess maybe still now a little bit. Was healthcare something that you were interested in? Like how talk about that a little.
Yeah, it was always, honestly, I grew up thinking that I was going to be a veterinarian forever. And
Me
then
too.
really, yeah, I decided, I was like, maybe I want to help people. And so I struggled being an athlete and student at the same time there for a while, because, we'd be gone for a month at a time. And if you didn't really have a teacher that supported that, well, you're not going to pass or stay in the class. You have to a different route. So that was hard for me initially, being in, a healthcare field or just a science-based degree path. I changed my degree probably 4 or 5 times and landed on, my bachelor's in health science. And part of that degree, which was actually really cool, the last year, your senior year, you're supposed to get certified in something. So if you want to be an x-ray tech or a paramedic, or they had a bunch of different options. I was like, maybe EMS would be pretty cool. So I started with my EMT basic in 2010, and then went through and went to paramedic school. And so when I graduated with my bachelor's, I also became a paramedic. And so, as soon as I graduated, I instantly had a job, which was really cool.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoyed all that time that I had. It was long hours and pretty horrible pay, but I learned so much, and I still carry all of those lessons. I'll carry them for the rest of my life. So.
I'm sure. I said I always wanted to be a veterinarian. I had it in the back of my head, but my first semester of college, I kind of knew I always wanted to do public affairs, public relations, but I always said, I'm going to be a veterinarian. My first semester of college, I went and I had to do bio, and it did not go well. It did not go well at all. And I was like, there's no way I could be a vet.
Yeah, that was like organic chemistry and stuff like that for me. I'm like, oh, what am I doing?
Yeah, I decided to go with words and writing rather than slides under the microscope. It was a bad first semester.
Oh, you learn.
Yeah. So what would you're a female, you've done some incredible things utilizing some resources within the Army. What would you say to young girls who are, maybe not sure what they want to do next, trying to figure out what they want to do?
I would just say talk to everybody. I kind of, when I teach shooting and stuff to younger kids right now, I've taken a lot more of that on.
That's cool.
I get a lot of those questions, and it's like, just talk to people. When you're in the airport, talk to somebody. You can learn something from every single person that you meet. And I kind of look at it like you have your own toolbox, right?
Yeah.
No toolbox is going to be the same from everybody. It's just little tools that you add to your own specific toolbox, and then go from there. But you can learn something from everybody. And if you see somebody that inspires you, figure out what they're doing or what their path was. Reach out to them. There's so many ways to get in touch with people now that people should definitely take advantage of it and just learn.
Yeah.
And try something new. Nothing's really permanent. That's kind of what me joining the military. I'm like, man, I can just do 4 years and be done if I want, or keep it going. It's not a permanent thing. And I ended up, staying for a while. So I would just say, get comfortable with being uncomfortable and just enjoy the ride.
I think that's great advice. You mentioned mentors. Do you have a mentor? Did you have a mentor going into the 2020 Olympics?
Yeah, I had a coach, and I was just surrounded by a team of people that wanted to see us do well. And I think that's important, having good, positive training environments and being able to buckle down and get it done. We really leaned on our coaches to kind of get us through that, and they saw the good, bad, and the ugly. That's for sure, getting ready for this. So it was definitely it took a team for us to get where we needed to be.
Yeah, I think that's important. I think having a squad, being with people who are supporting the same thing that you do is important.
Yep.
Do you have your medal around you?
I don't. I was just literally thinking. You read my mind. I was like, oh my god. I was like, I could go run and get it real quick if you want me to. You want me to?
Yeah.
Okay, I have to run.
Okay.
Okay. I think that was the fastest I have ever opened my gun safe in my entire life.
Oh, man.
There it is.
There it is. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Is it heavy?
It is. It actually is pretty heavy, but this is the traditional face of all Summer Olympic medals.
Okay.
Every
cool.
single Summer Olympic medal. That's the goddess of victory. And then the back side, the host country gets to design the back. So it says Tokyo 2020.
How awesome.
And then they say the hardest thing to replicate is actually the ribbon. So this one's kind of inlaid on the inside, but yeah.
Awesome.
There it is.
So
First thing I've ever worked for.
I bet. And so you keep it in your gun safe?
I do. Yep, I do.
That was magic for you to open it that quickly.
Yeah, that was very fast. I was like, please work, please work.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you for showing it to us. So we've talked a lot. Is there anything that we missed? Anything that you think it's important about, what you've gone through and what you've accomplished that you just want to share?
I kind of learned that there's 3 things that are kind of really important to me, and I kind of pass it along a little bit. The first one is just don't ever forget where you came from. And if you're in a position where you have the opportunity to give back, whether it's in business or sports or just being a mentor to somebody else, remember that, when you started, it wasn't easy for you at one point either. So you learned how you wanted to be and not. And the other one, just don't ever quit. If I had $1 for every time that somebody told me, when you didn't grow up or stop doing this or stop doing that, then I wouldn't be where I am today. So,
yeah.
And then one more thing, don't ever use people as stepping stones to get where you want to go. You have to be able to sleep at night and know that you did everything in a good conscience to get where you wanted to be. So don't use other people as a stepping stone.
You gave me goosebumps. I love all of that. It's such a great message. And I mean, I think we all can take something from that. I think our whole world could take something from that. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think we all need to be a little bit kinder to everybody. And I say that a lot on this podcast. I think you just don't know what people are going through and what your words could mean to them that day. So
help each other out. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, I know that you are a busy person, and I hope to see you on the TV in 2024. And I'm gonna tell my kids I know her and I saw her first gold medal.
I appreciate it. I appreciate the support and anything I can do to help you guys in the future or whatever. Let me know. And hopefully they'll play shooting not in the middle of the night this time.
Right? Because I will earn some real big mom points if I'm like, I know her.
Where are you located out of?
We're at Fort Bragg.
Oh, Fort Bragg. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So.
Cool.
Wait, Dean's asking me something. Fort Liberty.
Oh, excuse us. Yeah, excuse us. It's not Fort Benning either. I'm at Fort Moore.
Oh, right. It's going to take me a while. I will get there.
Fort Liberty. Got it.
It's just not, I'm just not used to it yet. But I mean, it's only been a couple of weeks.
Yeah. They're still changing signs down here. So.
Yeah. All of our interstate signs still need changed. Well, again, thank you. I know you're super busy. I'm glad we were able to work out a time and get to talk.
Yeah, no, thanks for your time and I appreciate your support.
Absolutely.